about 56 Fahrenheit for those of you in that part of the world. And despite the dire predictions about a cold front that's on its way, it's actually not too bad. So for those of you who don't know, my name is Jamie Patterson, and I will be your guide along with Stefan and Jeandre, who's also driving around at the moment looking for tracks. And I've got Andrew on camera with me. So Steph has picked up on some lioness tracks that he's currently following up on, and I've also picked up on a different set of lioness tracks. So at the moment we're sort of looping around each other just to see what we can see. But I've just stopped for this stunning sunrise moment. It is a beautiful, crisp morning in the Sabi Sands, and I am enjoying it immensely. To all of our regular viewers, welcome back. And for anyone new who's joining us for the first time, this is a live and interactive safari, so if you want to, you can send us questions or your comments at #SafariLive or at questions@wildearth.tv. So now, let us see what we can find. I'm always up to something interesting. So, a bit of a recap of what's happening around the area. Yesterday morning was filled with lots of different lions. We had the Nkuma Pride on the buffalo kill, and Steph had the Styx Pride with their adorable little cubs. And I suspect that these lioness tracks that we're seeing at the moment belong to one of the Styx females. Prey. For those of you who don't know, the Styx Pride have a gorgeous set of 3 little cubs. I'm just going to turn my headlights back on. When you're tracking in these sort of early morning low light settings, it's sometimes a fascinating area. It's always interesting for me, having just arrived here in the Sabi Sands, to explore and start looking at the very so there's a lot of underground water in the area, and one of the big reasons that I know that is because there are lots of silver cluster leaf trees, which I will have a look for in a second. We've just passed through most of them. But typically, silver cluster leaves will grow. You'll find most of them on the seep lines, and they're indicative. And what you know from that is that the grass quality around a seep line, where you reach those nice big clearings, the grass quality is going to be particularly good because the grasses and the trees there have access to water. So it's always useful to remember that, because when you are looking for animals, particularly some of your bulk grazers and animals such as that, and you know where to start looking. We are starting to sort of see the first signs of spring, but it's still very, very dry. It's been an incredibly dry season out here. Where I was based at working just before I moved here, we had about 1/5 of our average rainfall for the season. So very, very to see that all of the groundwater has disappeared by now. The animals are either reliant on the dams or reliant on the river systems. And it does mean that carnivores and predators have a bit of an easier time of things, because the game that they are hunting and preying on and feeding on are not as widely distributed in the area. So it looks as though the lioness has moved as I thought she would, which is off into this block on my left, which would put her into the same, moving in the same direction as the tracks that Steph has picked up on his side. Baby zebra trap. What's quite fun for me at the moment is that driving this road, this is the first time I have ever driven down this road. So it's all a new and exciting exploration around here. So Steph is also following up on Tingana, who he managed to locate last night. Beautifully timed. Popped out into the road exactly where Steph expected he would. So he is around in this area. He was booted off his kudu kill by the Styx pride. So I imagine that he's now having to be back on the hunt again. Just checking carefully for that lioness coming out here. And the colors are very beautiful this morning. So, silhouetted up in the tree, not the best light because he's lit from behind and it is still quite dark at the moment, but we've got a yellow bill way. But when the male is courting the female, he will bring her gifts of little insects and bugs just to prove that he is a good provider. And the reason for that is that when hornbills go and nest, what they'll do is they'll find a nice hollow in a tree, and the female will go in and lose her primary flight feathers and her tail feathers, and they'll actually block up the hole until all that's left is a tiny little bit of hole. Highly reliant on her mate to feed her. So he will go and pass her food, and she will start to raise the chicks until they start fledging a little bit, and then she will break out of the hole and then help her mate to feed the various chicks. So what they tend to do is they tend to aim for sort of hollows in trees. The other very cool thing about hornbills is they can be cooperative breeders. So their offspring from the previous nest will stick around for a little while and help the male feed the female. Very interesting little birds. And there's a variety of species in this area. My favorite, of course, is the ground hornbill, which is a very big, very beautiful bird, which I'm just going to find a picture for you in a second. So ground hornbill is the biggest species, and they are very, very large birds. They stand about this high. Oopsie daisy. So six. A beautiful sunrise just peeking up over the edge there. So here we have the southern ground hornbill, which is also part of the hornbill family, and they do a very similar thing. So they will nest in much, much bigger holes, often in hollows of things like marula trees, where elephants have pulled away one of the branches, and then they can move into that hollow and lay the chick that they have. Now these guys are actually very, very endangered. There's something in the region of maybe 1,400 or 1,500 left in the world. And reasons for this decline, and that is that they are particularly territorial birds, and they are also a little bit thick. So often when they interacting with people, they see their reflections in glass windows and they attack them. And they are big, strong birds with very solid bills, and they end up smashing windows and they're very, very picky about where they nest. They will return to the same nesting site over and over throughout the years. And the fact that it takes them something in the region of 7 to 8 years to reach sexual maturity from hatching until adulthood. And it gives you a bird species that does struggle to keep its numbers up in this day and age. But there are a lot of projects out there. So the hornbills, the ground hornbills, will always lay 2 eggs, and as is very common with a lot of bird species, especially the larger birds, the second chick is merely an insurance policy. So the second chick is guaranteed to be killed in some dies unless the first egg doesn't hatch. So there are a couple of projects that are now aiming to bring these guys back and get their numbers up out in the wild. So what they'll do is they'll actually go in once the first chick is hatched and the parents are out foraging for food. They will go and take that second egg and hatch it and raise it in a way that it can then be re-released into the wild. So in the same way they do with cranes and so on in various areas of the world, they'll raise them with hand puppets so that these birds don't get used to association with humans or associate humans with food, but rather grow up in a way that they can actually be released and be functioning wild animals. And there are many success stories, and they're actually slowly expanding back into the areas that they would have been in originally, especially the areas with the great baobabs up near Mapungubwe, which is the border of South Africa, Botswana and Zimbabwe. So very, very special birds, the hornbill family, and very, very interesting. But for now, I think we're getting to the point that it is light enough that we can go and check out what's happening at the hyena den. So I'm just going to head in that direction. It's always nice to get in. You will know that there is a very young cub at the den at the moment. And it's quite fun to just see how the various hyenas interact within their hierarchy system. But I'm not going to tell you too much more about that, just because I'm very keen to show you. Kathy from Tennessee, she says a big warm welcome to me, and I say thank you. So Kathy missed my first few drives, and she would like to know a little bit about my guiding background and experience. Kathy, I was born in Johannesburg, so born and raised in a city, but with a family that was very, very keen on the bush. My grandfather used to be a game warden in this sort of area, around the Sabi area. Favorite place to be. I have very vivid memories of my early childhood experiencing the various animals, and particularly vivid memory of going to a certain place and being allowed to walk, despite the fact that I was probably too young to be doing so, but just because they knew I was so passionate about where I was. After I left school, I worked briefly in the Kalahari. Worked is maybe a strong word. I experienced the various aspects of conservation in the Kalahari. And then I had a 3-year flirtation with a law degree in the United Kingdom. I did complete my law degree from Cambridge, but as you can see, it was not a future that I was all that keen on pursuing. So straight after that, I used to sit and spend my long, cold days in the UK listening and watching Africam and the other WildEarth live cameras just to get this. And I actually have a slightly different background to the other presenters in this area. I actually worked as a research guide. So rather than very high-end lodge guiding, I actually helped out various PhD and master students with helping them find the animals that they were researching. And then obviously learning a great deal from them. But the exciting thing for me about being here is I haven't spent as long guiding as the rest of the presenters, but it's amazing for me because I can actually learn and grow from this experience, and you guys can follow me on that journey as I experience and learn and see the different ways around here, starting with the roads. So guys, I'm actually going to pass you on. You guys are all interested to hear how Steph is doing on his side.
Oh, good morning from myself, Steph. I'm on the vehicle with Jeandre this morning. We thought that we'd share a sunrise for you in an unspectacular place today. Simply because today is one of those funny days that just seem to have a lot of energy around. There's a slight breeze happening. We've got these gusts of wind coming up. Mornings like this, they're just a tension. We had a lot of very good sightings with lions yesterday, for those of you who joined us yesterday. The day was just jam-packed with lions. I've already checked where we left the lioness with the 3 cubs last night. Not a sign. They haven't crossed south across our boundary, even though they were lying right on our southern boundary, which means that they got this funny tang to it. It's like a slight salty tang. It's almost like the breeze that we're feeling at the moment is washing straight off the Indian Ocean, which isn't unfeasible. We're only about 80 kilometers to 100 kilometers from the sea at the moment, from the Mozambican coast. And definitely something nice, something unusual to the hot, dusty smell that we usually smell around. But you can see over my shoulder the sun coming up. Turns the sky this lovely yellow color. Enormous knobthorn tree that you've got just to the left of the sun. Generally speaking, here the temperature likes to drop at sunrise by a few degrees. I don't know if it's just my impression or we've got one of our colleagues. Morning. I'm fine. If you just give me 2 seconds, I'll be with you in a bit. I'm fine, thank you. And you? Hello. Good.
Creatures are here.
We're looking at the sunrise with that. We're sharing it with the knobthorn that we have.
Quite pretty.
It is a big one, yeah. Good. And then I had a look for that lioness with the 3 cubs down in the drainage line here, but they've moved off. Doesn't look like they've crossed south though.
No signs of the males. We're looking for the males.
Okay, yeah, well, let's go. Yeah, they're here somewhere. At least we know they're in the Kruger.
That's helpful. Narrows it down.
Good luck. Bye-bye. Believe it or not, the light from the sun is actually 8 minutes old by the time it's coming into your eyes through your screens. It takes 8 minutes to get from the sun to us. So the sun is actually, if you want to, I suppose it'll be about unfeasible now, but start your stopwatches and time the sun the next time you watch a sunrise. So time the sun. And it's a fascinating exercise to do. As soon as you see the sun crest, start your stopwatch and stop it 8 minutes later. And that'll give you an idea of where the sun was actually when you saw the sun crest. And I never tire of doing that exercise, to be quite honest. It's a real eye-opening exercise. Gives you an impression of how far away from the sun we actually are. That's just beautiful. Not much dust in the atmosphere. As you can see, we had a yellow sunrise this morning. As the season progresses and August brings its winds with it, dust get kicked up into the atmosphere. The wind is hot and dry. And through October, the temperature increases as well, which means that the average temperature is hot, so the top layers of the soil dry out and start sucking up water from deep within the earth. And that's usually what triggers the green flush in spring. Have a look at that sunrise, that golden yellow sunrise coming through there. Beautiful. Edward, you got a good question for me this morning. I wonder if this region has ever seen a snowflake. Once years ago, I saw snow through my binoculars on the Drakensberg Mountains. And I couldn't really tell if it was just a white cloud or whether it was snow through my binoculars. But where we are now has never seen a snowflake. Not at least in its present geological position. Good question though. I myself have never played in snow. I've seen snow, obviously, but I've never been close enough to touch it, walk to it, hike to it, parachute to it, or anything like that. Yes, that is. So out of Hobart in Tasmania, X has given us a question about do we find the El Nina effect in South Africa? And the answer to that is absolutely yes. We do find it having an effect. It tends to be on a 10-year cycle. And from what I've been told by our weather department, we are into year 2 of an El Nino effect. Which means that a gradual drying out of the South African climate. And as far as what I understand, it's because currents are hitting into the tip of South America, and instead of coming into the Atlantic and having their ripple effect into the Atlantic, these currents are now sliding up the west coast of South America and doing whatever they're supposed to do up there. I'm not too familiar with, anymore at least, with the whole effect. The last time I studied for this was when I was at university, and although it wasn't too many years ago, it's too far away for me to exactly remember what the to have the next 8 to 10 years of drier than average years. However, I am a geologist by study, and although these things do have an effect on climate today, and even within our lifetimes we can see climate change on a geological scale, these types of weather patterns are a blink in the eye and are completely expected. Currents in the ocean change as continents drift in and out of positions that they're in, and they bring with them massive change. I'm quite looking forward to seeing what happens. Yes, they can have catastrophic effects on our food producing capabilities, and if what the scientists are saying is correct with the icebergs melting, we could even be in some trouble with all our low-lying cities around the world. But from a geological point of view, this is actually very interesting to see. We can actually do some damage to our eyes by looking directly into the sun, and I can hardly see that massive knobthorn that we've been sharing this sunrise with. Real giant of a tree. I'm glad that it's made it this far. Knobthorns tend to get absolutely hammered by Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to carry on going and searching for these lions. We've had our sunrise. I'm happy. And we're going to keep on going. Looking forward to sharing with you the following, well, let's see what the following adventure. How are you? Good, thank you. Good, folks. And my colleagues. So as I'm driving along, I'm busy looking out for tracks. I tend to pick areas that are just in front of me that are quite sandy. And I like to look on the inside corner of roads rather than on the outside corner. Not only because I sit on the right-hand side of the vehicle, but also because leopard quite enjoy walking on the inside curbs of roads. So, we're going to keep on going down the road. I'm expecting for us to find some lion tracks. We will catch up in a bit.
Welcome back, guys. I hear that you've been discussing the various weather aspects out here in the Sabi Sands, and it is a little bit cold and a little bit windy, and unfortunately the hyenas don't seem to be out and about this morning. They might be a little bit chilly, the cubs are hiding away, and also the fact that we've got at least 2 kills that we know on from the lions, and I've just heard right now that the lions that were on the buffalo kill have moved off. So potentially the adult hyenas that would be around the den have gone off to scavenge that kill, and they might be back a little bit later just to bring some food for the cubs and to feed the cubs that are around here. There's 3 sort of almost sub-adult cubs in this area, and then there's also the new little one. So we've got some interesting aspects about this den. I would not say that the hyenas have moved from this den. I think they are still around, and I'm still around and potentially around for a little bit longer, just until the parasites and the smell starts building up too much around the den, and then the mothers will move their cubs to a different location, but hopefully not before we get to see them one last time. So I'm just going to do a quick circuit. So Dave from Auburn has sent through a question just asking a little bit about the predators and the prey animals and when they sleep, and he says he's been watching the show. Typically the prey animals will be asleep at night. Their night vision is not as good as the predators, which of course gives the predators a great advantage. So mainly nocturnal predators will be the hyenas, the lions and the leopards moving around at night, hunting the various animals that are asleep, trying to sneak up on them while their guard is down. Obviously you get things like the cheetah, which hunt during the day. Cheetah and wild dog will be active during the day, but for the most, and there'll be interesting alarm calls both last night and the night before from the impala shouting, letting us know that there were lions in the area. And I believe 3 of the cameramen had a very interesting encounter with the lions coming down the road while they were closing down for the night. So there is action in this area, especially at night, which is why early mornings are so exciting out in the Sabi Sands, because you never know what in fuck you've been sleeping. With the hyena cubs that are at the den, they will be asleep most of their time unless the adults are coming through. So when the adults come round, they can explore their new world and bite things, chew on sticks all around, and you'll find that that's one of the signs of an active hyena den, is freshly from the ones at times just exploring their new world with their mouths, which is the best way to do so. Subject of an alarm calling and being aware of predators, Janet from Boston has sent through a question. Welcome to the Sunrise Like Birds alarm call at during the day when they're a lot more alert and aware around the area of their tree that they're roosting in for the night. So something, for example, like an eagle owl, and just the other night we had an eagle owl take a guinea fowl straight out of the tree from next to our campfire. Very, very dramatic scene and very noisy, with all of the guinea fowl absolutely going crazy. So they do alarm call at night, and I've just picked up on some fresh leopard tracks. looks like a male leopard has come down this road. I just want to see which way he's walked. So, when you're walking in the bush and you're looking for signs of hyena dens, what would you be looking for? So typically what hyenas will do is they'll have a number of active den sites that they will rotate between. Let's see where this guy's gone. So they have a number of active den sites, and typically those den sites will be then maybe something like a warthog has gone in and excavated, and they will move in there and they will excavate the tunnels such that there are certain areas in that den where the adults are just simply too big to enter, but only the cubs can fit down, and it keeps them nice and safe from various predators, especially things like marauding lions coming through. There's our leopard. He's walking down this road. The tracks have been driven over, but I'm not sure who's been mobile in this area this morning. So when you're looking for a hyena den, one of the common things you look for is the various latrines. So they will defecate in the same areas, and those get more and more concentrated around a den site. And then you're also looking potentially for old bones. Typically, spotted hyenas don't bring as many kills back to the den as something like a brown hyena. But that being said, here's our leopard again. That being said, it's very interesting to me to see how the differences in areas and different concentrations. So the area that I was working at before, the spotted hyenas tended to bring a large amount of kills back to the den site, and I was only roughly maybe an hour away as the crow flies from the Sabi Sands. But apparently in this area it's far less common for them to bring as many kills as I was seeing. Now I don't know compete with such a high number of lions. So guys, I still have some what look like beautifully fresh leopard tracks. So I need to jump off the car and do a little bit of tracking. And while I do that, I'm actually going to send you back to Steph, who's got quite an interesting little lone female elephant for you.
Literally 20 meters or 30 meters from where we last saw you, or when you were last with us, we found this Ellie cow busy eating a Transvaal saffron. She's now moved over to an acacia, and she seems to be on her own. We can't actually locate any other members of her herd, which is not uncommon. I mean, for those who had joined me yesterday, we were talking about the dexterity of an elephant trunk. I can't tell you now. Have a look at that. Have a look at what she's doing. Have a look at how she uses it. Tusk. All the different muscle fibers that mammals can produce, elephants have in their trunks, even specialized ones called a spherical muscle. muscles, which no other mammal has as far as I know. They have muscles in their trunk that are in like a coil, a continuous muscle which is like in a coil. And obviously they use it for extending their trunk. I'm sure that there's more elephant around this place, to be honest. That tree that was being knocked down there is an acacia. And the leaves are still very green. I've actually got some impala calls. I've got some impala alarm calls happening close by. I'm just going to listen. We've got some impala alarm calls, folks. We're going to be leaving this elephant just temporarily to go and follow up on them. Let's get and go. Just going to be getting closer to those alarm calls. Animals don't alarm call for very long, and whatever's being alarm called at doesn't stick around for very long either. So we're quickly just going to go and see if I can follow up over there. Excuse the bumping around, but these types of things you got to grab the opportunity by the horns when you get it. They're not too far away. What we're going to do is we're going to go forward to where I think they're calling from, keeping my eyes scanned, and then we're going to switch off and we're going to listen again. So we're getting close to the area where I think that the Okay, we're going to be switching off here and listening. Okay, we've got the impala alarm calling off to my left. Okay. Longer to actually let you hear this with us. We can increase the volume, but they are calling from a little bit further away from us than where we were, and I don't want to lose the opportunity here. So as soon as we get into a position, now from here we just got to start keeping our eyes and ears open. The impala actually calling off to my left hand side. Okay, these impala have actually stopped alarm calling now. There's only a very small window that we have to exploit that message. And that window seems to have closed, but we do around just yet. Those alarm calls were coming from deep in the bush off to my left hand side. For us to go driving around inside there now would be counterproductive, as we've got no reference point, just the bush. I've got some lions coming right towards us. So, we've got a lion right here. We've got one lioness. So, folks, that's how it's done. That's right. There's just one lioness, it looks like. She's coming straight towards us. And she's got babies. This looks like the mother of the cubs. She's definitely got some milk. Might be the mother of the cubs. It might be another lioness. They're so difficult to tell. Contact call. She's actually got something wrong with her ear as well. It's the lioness with the cubs. I noticed her bleeding ears yesterday. She's actually got something wrong with her ears. Fine, how are you? Good, thank you. How's it going? Good. Hello, folks.
To my team, right? I'm on the auto up in hearing.
Okay.
And yeah, I just trying to follow him if she's getting in contact.
Okay, cool. All right,
Thanks
no
so
problem.
much.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
See you around, guys.
To see if she leads them to the cubs. I didn't even know that he was in this area. Let's just hear a little bit. I'm hearing other lions as well. She's calling her babies. Let's stick with it. I think that would be a good idea. The babies came out of the bush. Have a look at the joy that Mom's come back to pick them up. Keep on going with them. I just want to say thanks to all the congratulations coming through from coming through FC on finding the lion. I must be honest with you that wasn't very difficult to track. It was using my ears and using a bit of knowledge. But thank you very much. Cubs just look like they're having an absolute ball with Mom. I'm gonna try and get Look at that. And I catch you. Awesome. Oh, they're having fun. Mom has just stopped there in the road. She's listening. No doubt to that elephant, I think, that we were with. We're approaching that area. So that just moving down the road. Looks like Mom is going somewhere. Looks like she has something to get to. Not necessarily means that she's going to be going to food or anything. It might just mean that they were somewhere outside of the core territory and are now moving back to the core territory for a rest. She'll want to take the cubs back to the safest place that they possibly can be during the middle of the day. You could see by that very boisterous, playful behavior that the cubs have probably been alone for a while. And that's not uncommon for cubs. It's quite common for cubs to be left on their own. What's more concerning is the inside of that one lioness's ear is absolutely raw. And I don't know what that is. It looks like she might have a parasite infection on her ear. And it'll be interesting to see when she does lie down again. I want to get my binoculars in there, see what is actually going on. Take a photograph and potentially send it through to some of my colleagues in the industry and see if we can find out what's wrong with her ear. Doesn't look like it's having much effect on her. I mean, she's in very, very good condition. She's looking after her babies. And the first sign of lions going through some strife is the fact that she will abandon her cubs and she will lose condition very, very quickly. So it's not a cause for concern just yet. Don't worry about Mom and her ability to look after the baby. She's still in perfect health. She's a lion. They are incredibly tough. Got some So Dave has asked me on Twitter, how far can cubs travel in a day? They can do a couple of miles, Dave. They're definitely not unfit, but Mom won't make them walk too far. It's much safer for the cubs to actually stay hidden. And Mom will leave them behind. They will stay hidden. She will go hunting. You can see her going through the bush there in front of us. Cubs will come gambolling out behind her, I'm sure. There they come. And that's why Mom doesn't walk too far with them, is they make an incredible amount of noise. As they travel through the bush, she will battle to hunt because of that. back in. We'll make some space for you. Copy that. I didn't actually realize it was the side connect. Negative, no eastern channel. Thank you very much. Keep on going, following them through the bush. Cars following her. Jennifer in Toronto has asked us a very interesting question. At what size are cubs safe from predatory birds? Well, Jennifer, I only know of a statistic for a crowned eagle, which is probably the most powerful of the birds here, taking cubs or taking animals up to 35 kilograms. 35 kilograms is about 70 pounds, and these guys won't be that age until they're 9 or 10 months old. We'll actually be on the prey list of a bird of prey like that, but definitely something to look out for. Snakes, anything will take the opportunity to get hold of any food that they can, and being quite instinctual, birds, snakes, jackal, hyena, leopard, cheetah, they'll all try and eliminate future competition